All right, welcome back to the Adaptive Journey podcast. I'm Albert Wolfe, executive coach and writer for Adaptive Leaders based in China.
And I'm JD Whitney, senior coach, principal in the United States for Adaptive Leaders, living in Los Angeles in California. And we're happy to have you here with us today. We're going to be talking about what, Albert?
Well, thank you for asking, JD, as if you didn't know.
As if I didn't know, as if we're not in the middle of a model.
Yeah, we are working our way, ironically, backwards through the Emma model. But when it shows up on the feed, it'll probably show up in order. So EMMA, the Emma model for performance leadership, the 4 keys to get better results from your team. You need to focus on expectations, motivations, measurements, and accountability. Emma for short. So today we've made our way all the way to step 2, which is motivations. And this is the one when we work with teams across all kinds of organizations, they are most excited about. I think this is the one that gets the most sort of energy in the room and the most, because it makes sense, right? That we're talking about what motivates you, and people are motivated to talk about what motivates them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think everybody, the way that I would phrase it is this way. Expectations, measurements, and accountability for a lot of leaders kind of feel like hard skills. And they're the ones that we practice most with other people. But we don't always think about motivation. But when we think about what we want, this is an ironic thing. While we want clear expectations, we want things to be measured. We want some level of accountability. We talked about that previously. That usually our best bosses and our best coaches or people in our lives that help us grow are people who challenge us, and we love that when it's done well. And here we are talking about motivations, which is something that, again, is really exciting to think of for me, but somehow often ends up as a blind spot when thinking about anybody else.
And, and I have a tendency to kind of expand into the home and friends realm too much. So stop me if this is going off base. But I was just thinking about when we wanted to start a family reading time together in our home. And I actually used Emma to do something that I wouldn't have done. What I definitely would have done is I would have done the expectations. I would have said, okay, we're going to read a chapter together out loud every night. That's what we're going to do. And everybody would have, nodded and said, okay. And I would have said, and here's how we're going to measure that. We have like the total chapters of the book, and we're going to check them off as we go through them. And everybody would have understood. And I'm going to have an accountability thing where I say, and if we don't do it, then we have to do 2 chapters the next day, or, whatever. I would have definitely naturally done all of those, but because I think it was right in the middle of writing the book with you guys, adding, it was an intense process. We'll talk about that later, but, JD sending comments and Beth and Ray and Mike are sending comments. And it was right in the middle of that. And I went, hang on a minute. I should actually go around to my wife and both kids and ask, what's most exciting about this book for you guys? And it did not occur to me to ask that question, except that I was writing this book. And it was really fascinating. My daughter said, I just love the pictures. And I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, of course the pictures are going to be more interesting to her than other stuff. And so that's just a brief example, but I made a point every time we sat down to read the book together to like open up the book and find the last picture and, go around, show it. And the kids were totally into it. I spent way more time on the pictures than I would have because I'd bothered to ask at all what was motivating about this project to everybody.
Absolutely, Albert. And I think that points to the biggest thing I think we'd say to anybody listening to this. If you want to motivate your team, the number one thing that you should do is ask them about it.
Yeah.
It's real. Like, there's no rocket science to this. We have some other stuff we'll talk about. We've got a motivations profile that we do for our clients. Albert and I will share a little bit of what we found and how that's played out for us. So if you need a little help, we've got some help we'd be happy to give you. But the reality is, most of the time, you will see a significant bump just by asking. And so what are you asking? You're asking, hey, can you talk to me about what motivates you in your job? What motivates you at work? and what doesn't motivate, what demotivates you. And just that conversation can be really amazing. Now, there might be some people, I wouldn't start this with somebody that you know has a big beef or a big issue with you or with the company or something like that. But for some of your other people on your team, I think this is a exact perfect way to start is just ask. I'll give you an example and of two things. So one is more of a quantitative thing. When we facilitate this for groups of people, we always have them do the motivations profile. We talk about it, we debrief and process with them, but then we ask them, can you hold up on your hands? We talked about this previously with accountability. Oh, one
Yeah.
through five. How do we do with accountability around here? What we ask with motivations is how many of these motivators that you have identified through your motivations profile does your direct supervisor know about? And the average is two.
Yeah, we'll see a little bump in a nonprofit space where there's like more of an assumption that it's not just money and promotions, what we call carrot vision in the book. Like they're just, in the nonprofit space, they're used to talking about a little bit more, but it is shockingly low, isn't it?
Yeah, it's remarkable.
And
And the
lots of
thing
zeros, lots of
is
people with a
zeros,
zero. Yeah,
ones. Yeah.
yeah,
And it's good to know just right off the bat that your people have things that make them want to get out of bed in the morning and show up and work harder.
yeah,
And you probably don't know them. And all you have to think about is what are the things that excite you most about your job? What are you most motivated by? And ask, does my boss know those things? And if the answer for you is two or three, at least there's some credibility for what Albert and I are saying. But that really is the average, is around two.
yeah.
Um, and I want to share a story about a coaching client. So Albert shared one of how he used this in his home. I want to share this from a very high level business environment, top 10 global software firm, senior leader in AI, one of the top technical experts in AI in the business. And this person, I'll be careful what I share. But what we came to a point in the conversation where I just asked him, what is it that you would really like? What would really motivate you? What would be a sign to you that you have achieved all of the things that you want to achieve in terms of work? And when he thought about the things that would excite him the most, that would motivate him the most, what he said was, I wish they would give me a bigger puzzle.
Yeah, he wanted a tougher problem to solve.
He wanted a tougher problem to solve. This is crazy. His bosses are probably wondering, how do we keep this guy from getting poached by one of the other AI firms? How much do we need to pay them?
Yeah,
How much do we need to pay this person? How much do we need to promote? How, like, what's that? Do we need to do title inflation or something like this around here? And this person genuinely, and because of my relationship, I know that it is absolutely true. What they were interested most was, can I solve a bigger problem for our company?
and what manager is? I mean, that's a dream come true. That's like, wow, you want harder stuff to do? Everybody would love that as the response from
Yes.
their teammate.
And the point is, not everybody would say the same thing, right? Because there are people
Yeah,
who are motivated by other things. But the point is that in this case, I'm not really sure that the people that were upline from him in the company were really aware that
yeah,
that's what he wanted. One thing that is important to note in this circumstance, if you have somebody who has that kind of motivation, is that what he wasn't saying is, leave me with all my current responsibilities and add to it.
yeah,
What he was saying was, give me a harder problem to solve, take off some of these other things off my plate and give me something more challenging, more complex that requires higher level thinking or higher level complexity, higher level technical solution, and I will figure it out. We will figure it out. So it's not just, hey, give me more, it's give me a certain kind of more. And sometimes we do that with our top performers is we just pile more work on them.
yeah. And it's
Yep.
it's a really good reminder too that this is all very individualized. You can't sit there and say, I think I know what motivates my team, because your team is actually full of individuals. And so there may be a team goal that is highly motivating to people, but it's really a one-on-one conversation with people. And I understand
Mm.
that there are overwhelmed leaders out there who think, do you have any idea how long that would take if I were to go through and have a one-on-one conversation with all the people that I should or that report to me? Hey, like JD said, pick somebody that doesn't have a beef, pick somebody safe that you feel confident with, and just try it with one person and see how it goes. That'll build a little
Absolutely.
confidence. You'll get some experience under your belt, and maybe rank all your people from like easiest to hardest, and just do one a month, or one a year. Oh, I can do better than one a year. Those guys are crazy. I can do great. Just just rank them and go in order so that you learn how great it can be. And
Absolutely.
we actually have a little conversation map. If you do we'll put a link in the show description to our motivations profile. It emails you the list of motivators that you pick for yourself, but it also has a conversation map that you can use with your team. It's the same conversation map um, for every list. And so it just sort of structures a conversation. They can even know it's coming. This is what we're going to talk about. It can, really lower the defenses. And most people we found really love talking about their motivators.
It it's been a transformative conversation more often than not.
Yeah.
And so this is something that we're just excited for you to experience and have it as a gift from us because it again, you want better performance out of your people. Most of them might not say that they want to work harder, but would they like to see better results? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Some of them would like to work harder, but there's reasons why they're not doing that. And just having a conversation about motivations can really uncover some things that can be frankly surprising. Um, I want to ask you about your motivations profile, and maybe we can have a quick practice almost
Yeah.
here in front of everybody just to give a demonstration. But I did want to also acknowledge again a data thing and uh, and how we think about something that is really common when people think about motivations. Out of all the people that we have given our motivations profile, there are a percentage that put increased pay or promotion as one of their top 5 motivators.
Yeah. It's on the list. It's
It's on the
totally
list. We have
it's
not
totally
left it off the
acceptable.
list.
Yeah.
It's on the list. They can check it,
Yeah.
and I think it is less than 1% of people put either of them.
Hmm.
And when they put it there, it's almost always in the bottom 3. I'm not sure we've ever had anybody put it at 1 or 2, but it's almost always at like number 4 is the one that I think is the most common. So we just want to just note that your thought about that for a lot of people doesn't even show up in their top 5. Now, what does that mean? The way that we describe it is that we look at pay and promotion as hygiene factors. So very quickly, what does that mean? That means think about it like hygiene in a restaurant.
Yeah.
If you walk into a restaurant and the restaurant is clean, great. But that doesn't mean that you're going to like it there and come back. But if you walk in and it's filthy, even if the food's good, you might not come back to that place. So it's not enough to make you come back, but it is enough to make you leave. And that's the way that we look at pay and promotion and what we see both in the data and anecdotally. If you underpay someone relative to other companies or relative to someone else in the same organization who has the same or less performance, that may eventually cause someone to look outside and think, hey, maybe I could do better out there somewhere. It won't get them to perform better, but it may cause them to leave. If other people who they view as less intelligent, less hardworking are getting promoted and they're not getting promoted, they're probably going to leave. But promoting them is, and this is across the research. This is not just our research or our evidence. This is across the research. Promotion is not going to make them perform more, do more, achieve more for your company. It's just not going to happen. So those two are hygiene factors. You have to pay attention to them, but they're not the key to better motivation in your people.
Yeah. And so that word hygiene is Hertzberg's word from the, very classic motivational research. I like to think of it as like a floor, like you have to get all the way up to a floor that you're standing on. And then
Sure.
once you've got a solid floor, which is the compensation or the position has to make sense to the person, then you don't really need to add floor layer after floor layer after floor layer on there. Now they're able to stand, they're able to run around. They're going to be motivated by something else. But it could be if that's showing up on your people's motivations profile, compensation or promotion or something, it might even be in the top one. Well, then there might be an issue where they don't feel they're meeting the minimum, basically, for
Mm,
those things.
yeah.
And and so the real trap there for senior leaders, for HR professionals, is many people show up and say, I need to think of a way to help motivate so and so. I'm going to go to money first. And and if the floor is already there, yes, everybody we do this, raise your hand if you don't want more money. Okay, there's no
Yeah.
hands in the room. But then also like if you get, bonus or a raise or something, tell me how long that will affect your motivation. And people are very honest. And you can, I mean, even imagine it for yourself listening to this. Is it like maybe 2 weeks where that's compensation or bonus has driven you to a new level of productivity? It fades pretty quick.
Yeah. Albert, let's look now at the motivations profile and just get a little bit of an idea of something and maybe practice a few of the concepts that we would encourage people to use when you're having this motivation conversation. So I think you have yours up in front of you. I have mine up in front of me. What are your top 5 motivators?
Okay, my top five are number one, and I do rank these. So the motivations profile ranks them in order from most powerful to least in the top five. So I love making an impact towards team goals. That's my favorite. Number two, learning something new. Number three, ability to choose how I do my work. Number four is a write in. You're allowed to write in if you don't see one on the list. I wrote in leveling up myself. And number five, when things are almost too challenging.
Interesting. So now everybody that's listening, and this is something that we would just really encourage all of you to think about when you work with people like we do all the time, and you do all the time as a leader, you work with people. Language is a funny thing. Albert might have picked those things on the page for one reason, and I might be interpreting it in another way than what
Yeah.
he meant. So, Albert, I'd simply ask you, what can you tell me about one of those and tell me about a time that you experienced that at work so that I know what that looked like. What did that feel like in real life, not just on the page here as a label?
Okay, so I'll just pick learning something new because that's a very common one, and I want to sort of decode it for you. Like, what does that mean for me?
Okay.
I remember when I got my first senior management position. I was the general manager at a company that I really didn't know much about. It was a kind of a once in a lifetime opportunity, and I just scheduled one-on-one meetings with every department head, and there was like 8 or 9, and I just said, I want to learn all about your job. And I sat with them and they talked to me and they told me all about their job. And I like interrupted and asked all my questions. And so for me, learning something new is not like I want to sit and read a book about what
Hmm.
what it means to be the legal counsel at a company. I want to sit with the legal counsel and I want him to say, here's what I do as the law department here. And so it's very personal, it's very interactive for me. And I love learning from people more than books or even Claude or YouTube.
Okay. Awesome. So for everybody that's listening, just recognizing that somebody else might have said learn something new and they're top motivators. In fact, I'm just going to check really quickly. I think. Okay, mine doesn't have that. Mine has figuring things out. So it's a different shade of things. But if I had learning something new here, that it's probably like 7 or 8 on my list, that I would have meant something different than what Albert meant. His is
Yeah.
very people focused. Someone else might have been not me, but somebody else might have been I love reading up, the people who like read all the way through the manual of something that they buy. that might be super motivating to them. And for me, that sounds crushing, mind numbing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there's people out there who have that motivation. So having the conversation, asking what it looks like in real life will give color to the profile. Uh, Another question here, uh, that I would say is, this is more like if you're in a trusting situation that you could ask, how am I doing in terms of being a motivator from your perspective? Like, what am I doing that's helping you in your motivation? Are there any things that I'm doing that I could maybe change to help you feel more excited and motivated in your work? So the
So I can,
two-sided question. And if you feel safe, I think it's a great way to a great way to ask and open up the conversation. I think if people feel that your defenses are down, they don't want to kill you over it.
yeah.
They'll appreciate you leaning in. And honestly, sometimes they can tell you something that might be hard to hear, but might actually transform the workplace. Once you know, if you don't know, you can't change it.
Yeah, so just a reminder to everybody listening, we're not going to walk through the whole conversation, Matt, but this list of motivators is the beginning of a conversation. This is not
Mm,
the end. This is
yeah.
not the report that you now have. This is like the starter to get the ball rolling, and then most people are very happy to think through these things and share them with you. Obviously, a little bit of trust needed, and then follow up after a few months to see how's motivation going now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think having this on the table in a conversation, I like I think it would be a good thing to come back to. For me, so we talk. This is our performance leadership model, which we deliberately did not call performance management model because performance management is associated with these IT systems and all of this tracking software and everything to make sure that all the numbers are adding up across an organization. And we see incredible potential in those systems, which is why they were built and why companies buy them. There are some advantages that companies benefit from, but we also, as a side note, most companies are not seeing what they hoped for out of those systems. And I think one of the reasons is because the numbers are on the page now in the system, but then it becomes an annual conversation. And an annual conversation, mostly filled up with numbers, a lot of measurements, some of which are not key, make it really hard to make any headway in terms of real performance in an organization. So for us, for the most part, we're saying, hey, this needs to be a regular part of your breathing as an organization.
Yeah.
Every time I talk one on one, we should be talking about some of these things. But checking in on motivations is one of those things that once you start the conversation, you make some changes. You can just do a couple of check ins over a period of months. And now it can just be something that you do ask once a year to say, hey, anything changed recently? Because
Yeah.
now you have this person performing above what you expected of them, or maybe finally performing at expectation. You can just check in every once in a while. Uh, that's one of the things I love about the because now that I'm aware, you're aware, I can notice, hey, Albert seems a
Yeah.
little less motivated right now. Albert notices that I seem a little less motivated. We just bring it back up to the top. But that first shift can be absolutely dramatic.
Yeah. And now if somebody were to ask JD how many of Albert's top motivators do you know, he would have to put up all five fingers.
I have to at least say 5. If I'm not helping him with those, that's another story, and that's why Albert's saying it needs to be more than just a one-off conversation. Don't
So let
ask if
me
you're not ready to back it up.
exactly. Don't start it and then leave it. But let me put up five fingers for you. Why don't you share what are your top
Sure.
five motivators? Do you have them
Yeah.
there?
Yeah, I do. I have them here. And my number 1 is when things are almost too challenging. So it was your number 5. I remember now. I remember one of the 5. Uh, when things are almost too challenging. I love that. Public recognition is my number 2. Some people hate public, they prefer it private, and some people
Yeah.
don't care at all. My friend, the AI specialist and former client, doesn't care a lick about that, at least not too much. He would call it something very different. But for me, it matters. I want to hear somebody say out loud that I did a good job, and I prefer if other people are hearing it. That matters to me. Figuring things out, That's my version of learning. I like the accomplishment of there's a puzzle and I solved it. Making an impact in the world and completing specific tasks or goals. Those are my 5.
Yeah. So, just something to observe for our listeners. JD did something that you might see when you have this conversation with people. He's sort of decoding them as he goes, and he's giving you context and a little bit of background, which is cool. Um, the other thing I want you to watch for when you have this conversation is JD did it a little bit, and just don't let people do too much of it where they're relating their motivators to other people, because this is a very that's very common and very normal.
Mm,
But don't let people do what JD didn't do, which is to really frame the motivators conversation in terms of what other people are
yeah,
doing or
that's right.
motivated by. And you will see that some people have a tendency to, I know that, Bobby over there is motivated by this, but for me, it's really very individual, and it's fine. It's fine to have the exact same list, but have it mean something different for you.
Yeah.
So just be encouraged that
Mhm.
that this is a great conversation. Before we close, I do want to lean into what we've seen as adaptive challenges for managers, who they agree this is a great idea, but they just can't quite bring
Ooh, can't
themselves
do it.
to start the conversation. And this is where you need to activate your 3 C's: your curiosity, your courage, or your care. Well, maybe you and I can just kind of ping pong back and forth. What are some of the concerns? I'll start. Um, I will feel like, and most of these are like, if I have this conversation, I'm worried that I'm promising to do to motivate all 5 of these top motivators all the time. That's one that we've seen. What are some that you've seen?
That's the big one, honestly,
Yeah,
what you just said. It's the if I have to do 5 times my number of direct reports, new things,
yeah,
I'll die. And, just wanna answer that with, it actually doesn't play out like that, and I would encourage you to experiment with one person, as Albert said, because it doesn't play out like that. And they're not expecting you to make a change in all of them. Usually it's like you can prioritize like
yeah,
everything. We're constantly prioritizing. So that one, I think 2 others that I would say is some element of I won't know what to do or what to say. Like I
yeah,
won't understand it or I won't know what to do.
yeah,
Um, Maybe another one is like, I don't want to listen to a bunch of whining.
yeah.
Um,
This is
so
like an opening for them to complain about how demotivated they are.
yeah,
So yeah, so the 3 C's are the answer to this. Also choosing the right person to start with. Um, as for the, um, wow, am I promising to, give them a promotion? If they listed promotion as number one, does that mean that they're going to be expecting promotion? Use curiosity in this case. Use curiosity. Just say, which of these top 5 motivators could we be using better, and how? Let them answer it. Be
absolutely.
curious, be open, and say, you tell me how we can use your motivators better. And then you're not putting the pressure on yourself to decode that, to figure that out.
I I've almost never met it's very rare that we ever work with anybody, well, and I don't think would ever work. We might volunteer with some people who'd be in this. I just have a hard time imagining any of our clients being like this, where you're like, I want my people to be more dependent on me
Yeah,
and less of a thinker on their own. No, it's like I really wish they would step up. The thing everybody wants is I want the people who work for me to step up, take more responsibility, move out into the world, relieve the burden on my plate so that I can focus on higher level tasks that support the work that they're doing. And I think that's an almost universal thing. And then it breaks down very, very fast. And in this case, I think this is one of those places where it's a really easy thing to let them do more of the mental work.
yeah,
And then it takes some courage. So you talked about curiosity that invites that. It can take courage to put that within boundaries. So if the response to that question is, well, I want to be promoted and I want this job, then it may take a little courage in the moment to say, okay, thank you for sharing that. I hear you. from my side, this is the reality of where we are right now. That's not on the table at this stage until we solve A, B, and C problem. Now let's talk about how these motivators can help you solve A, B, and C, whether that's problems with how you're functioning here or what's going on in your part of the business, so that we can get you to the place where you are now in line for this thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, courage moving into that. And I think people can tell, again, if you care, they can tell if you're interested in hearing the answers that they have to the questions. And that also is something that is highly underrated.
And I was just remembering a senior leader that I know and worked with when we practiced this, because a lot of times we'll practice this with teams and given the conversation map and just, practice having your mouth say the words. The very first line in the conversation map is, "Thank you for sharing these with me." And that was one of his big takeaways. He said, I don't thank people for sharing their true feelings or their true ideas enough. And that's really that caring piece
Mm,
where you're really actually more than just a machine. You're not an AI robot. You have motivators. This is one of the big differences between us and machines, right? So, wow, thank you for sharing. What a gift. And when done well, when done right, this can be an extremely powerful supercharge to your team's performance if they feel that you care about their motivators. In those boundaries, letting them do the lion's share of the thinking of how it's going to play out, but that you even asked, that you're even having the conversation.
I think that connects so well, and maybe this would be my final thought for today. If we look at that assumption that if I ask my people that adaptive challenge to say, if I ask people about these motivations, then that keeps me from asking. Uh, there's that, then I won't know what to say, or I won't be good at the thing that they want, or that they're motivated by, and I'm just going to then feel inadequate as a leader. And uh, I just want to encourage anybody who has that sense out there that human beings are by and large pretty complex, and at the level that you're probably at listening to this, they're clever people, and they can see things. They're paying attention. And what I can say, if I look at one of mine, public recognition, or like uh the idea of like words that affirm the work that I've done, is really powerful to me. But I know that's not how everybody communicates. But when I know somebody knows that about me, and now, even though it's not easy for them, and even though it's not their normal thing, and even if they mess it up, the fact that they tried because they care shows me that they care about me.
Yeah.
And it shows me that they're paying attention. And some people might even be afraid, like, well, then are they going to think that I'm faking it, or that I'm like just doing
Yeah.
this to manipulate them? And if you are, they'll know. I'm just telling you right now. If
Yeah.
you just do the motivations profile, get the list, and then use that as a tool to like forward your own progress and manipulate your people, they're going to know, and it's not going to work.
Yeah.
But if you do it because you care and you want to see your people be successful, and you're asking because you want to improve their working environment so that they are more excited to show up and go above and beyond, I promise they're going to feel the care. And that's going to do just as much as how successful you are or aren't at clearing some of these motivation things up. Um, as long as you're trying, if they can tell you care and they can tell you're trying, it's going to make a difference.
Yeah. And so we'll put the link in our show description. This is part of our studio, our adaptive leadership studio program, which is um, very scalable to an entire organization. Starts at $299 per person for a whole year subscription. It includes live coaching, it includes webinars, and all of our performance leadership model. And we'll put a link to the studio in there as well. But the just at the very bare minimum, take the motivations profile, use it with your team, and see what great things happen. And as long as you're sort of ranking the conversations from easiest to hardest, we've not yet seen a major issue with it. Although we recognize those fears, those adaptive challenges are real.
I
So
would just say, Albert, you said like we haven't seen an issue with it. but we have seen a lot in the other direction. We've seen workplaces transformed and people excited in ways that they've not been sometimes for years. So I just want to put that plug in.
Yeah.
Yeah, the risk is low, but the potential upside is astonishing at times.
Yes, yes. I forgot to emphasize that. It's totally very, very important to do this. And it is probably the core, the missing core for the Emma model that people most often skip over. And so please do it. Please talk to your team about their motivators. Our closing question is always how is thinking shifted? It's not fair that I always ask you, so I'll let you ask me
Hey,
this
Albert, how
time.
has your thinking shifted?
Thank you for asking. I was really struck by the great observation. I haven't heard it quite this way before. That every leader, every good leader, the ones we work with, they're dying for their team to be more independent and less dependent on them, so that they can move up to the strategic level. That's a very very well put. I can totally confirm that from my experience, and this is actually one of the ways to do that.
Hmm.
What about you? How is your shifting?
So
Your thinking shifted?
I think hearing you. So actually, I think mine is about you and just discovering that for you, it's learning things that are new, which I knew about you, but listening to your elaborated framing of that and how it's really about engaging, how you engage with people in that process, both explains a lot of what I see in you, but also helps me know how sometimes I might have misinterpreted in in the past different ways that we interact in our collaborations. So
Hmm.
uh, anyway, it's a shift in my thinking. So thank you for that.
Well, I'll hear more details about that offline. But for
Yeah.
now, thanks everybody for joining us today, and we'll talk to you again soon.
See you next time.
Bye for now.